I've used Craigslist a lot in the past, both for buying and selling things. As a female, I always try and use caution when using it. Despite some weird stories I've heard, I've not had a single issue on there, aside from a couple of weird buyers, but they weren't like harmless or anything. Aside from using Craigslist for selling things, I also enjoy frequenting the Craigslist's Missed Connections page. On a good day, you can find some really funny posts on there, and really it's just an entertaining part of their website overall. One day when I was browsing through there, I noticed a post with the title, "Hello." It was a simple title, but enough to spark my curiosity. I clicked on it, and the post read as follows. You should really pay more attention when people watch you. It can hurt someone's feelings when they're ignored. You're blonde and petite, and I enjoy watching you pick out your groceries. You will be mine. What a weird post. I couldn't help but wonder, though, noting I was also blonde and petite and just so happened to be in the grocery store the day before. Nonetheless, just a weird coincidence, I'm sure. I looked through a few more posts after and decided to call it a day. About a week later, I was back at that same grocery store, mindlessly shopping. I usually don't pay much attention to people around me, and with everyone wearing masks now, it feels like we all just kind of blend in. But this time, I felt like I was being watched. You ever just know and have that feeling? I was in the produce aisle, and when I turned to look to the other end of the aisle, there was a man staring me down. I didn't get a good look at first because I didn't want to make eye contact for too long. I turned to look again, and his gaze was cold, like he was staring into my soul or something. This time I stood staring back for several seconds. He had a mask on, obviously, but he was a short and overweight middle-aged man from the looks of it. It was really weird, and I know he wasn't just looking this way by coincidence. This man was fixated on me, and it was really uncomfortable. I quickly got the remaining groceries and checked out right away. When I got to the parking lot and started walking to my car, that man from the store began following me. I turned around and noticed him slowly pacing towards my car, which prompted me to speed up my walking. When I got in my car, I turned to drive out of the lot, and there he was, just staring me down. What the hell is this guy's problem? I got home and felt relieved. That night I was bored and started browsing the web. I found myself on Missed Connections again, when I came across a post that said, "Nice seeing you." When I clicked on it, the post read, "I love watching you in the grocery store, but you were really rude to run away from me in the parking lot. I just want you to love me. Next time, I promise you will love me." I swear, in that moment I began to cry. It all came together now. Those two posts from Missed Connections, they were about me, and this was obviously that creepy guy from earlier. Against my better judgment, I replied to the post, demanding an explanation and threatening to call the police. The reply back sickened me. "I was waiting for you to reply. It's so good to finally speak. We can be together now." I replied telling him to fuck off, and that there was no chance of us being together. I told him I'd be going to the police, and I flagged his post. I stayed up late that night, not being able to sleep, and I got an email notification around 2 a.m. It was a reply from that guy's email. This time it had an image in it. The image was of me in my kitchen with the same clothes I have on now. Oh my God, he was outside my house. I dropped my phone and began crying. I didn't know what to do. I was having an anxiety attack. Just then, I heard a knock at my living room window. I screamed as loud as I've ever screamed in my life. I didn't bother opening those blinds, but I heard him say, "Let me in. We can finally be together." I ran to my upstairs and locked myself in the bathroom. I called 911 and explained the situation. That's when I heard my window break. I was screaming at this point, crying like I've never cried in my life. I told the operator what was happening, and he told me to stay on the line. The police would be there soon. Just then I could hear the man on the other end of the door, slamming against it, yelling at me to open up. I thought I was going to be killed. Then I heard the sound of police sirens. The man at the door stopped and I heard him running away. The police were there just a few minutes later, but that guy was gone. I gave my report and explained the Craigslist and grocery store stalking. They said they would do their best to investigate it. The investigation is still ongoing, and I'm in the process of moving to a new place at the moment. I fear every night I'll run into that guy again, and I pray he's caught. If one thing is for certain, I'll never browse Missed Connections again. I was new to a big city and decided I didn't need my car anymore. I listed my car for sale, a 6-year-old Honda Accord. A normal, well-dressed man comes over to see it after a few phone calls about it. He's in his early 40s and his name is James. He's buying it for his daughter in college. I always have my guard up when dealing with strangers, but so far James is personable and seems legitimate. He test drives it with me in it. He does a thorough inspection. He negotiates the price with me for a while. He asked me to hold the car for 2 days so he can get the money and come pick it up. I agree. A 2-day hold where I won't sell it to someone else. 2 days later, James follows up and we meet again. Midday, normal neighborhood in an urban city. James and I test drive the car one more time. He gives me a Chase Bank cashier's check, which I said was fine. I tell him he needs to come to the bank with me to cash this check and to get the title notarized over to him. This is when he starts acting nervous. We're pulled over on the side of my street discussing this. James in the driver's seat and me as the passenger. I figured if he was going to steal my car, he would have 2 days earlier. Now I'm fairly comfortable with him. He asked me to do one more car inspection with him, then we'd go to the bank. I agree, but I'm very set on doing the transaction at a bank. As we both get out to inspect the car again, he jumps back in and floors it as I try to get back in with him. He pulls away quicker than I can react. Passenger door wide open. I tried to run after him and then realized I'm not as fast as a car. There are bystanders and I hysterically ask someone to call 911. One guy does. I had my phone, but my adrenaline was through the roof and didn't even think of it. As I'm on a stranger's phone with dispatch, an undercover cop car with 2 officers pulls out of an alley 5 feet from me. I wave them down and hysterically explain my story. They tell me to hop in the back of their car, which I do. I implore them to hurry and we can catch this guy. He just drove off. I explain the car and plate and everything. They assure me that they will not go on a high-speed chase with me in the car, but will radio it in to all surrounding officers, which they do. The guy gets away and the officers drop me off at the police station to file a report. I file an insurance claim too, and I'm so mad at myself for letting this happen. I suppose it's better than if I was in the car with this guy, but I'm still mad. Of course, James Berner's cell phone doesn't work as soon as he had left. I go through insurance and their protocols to ensure I'm not committing fraud for about 3 months. The week I'm supposed to get paid, I get a call from police. They found my car 3 states over. James was working with a partner in crime. Don't remember his name, let's call him Dickface. James stole the car and gave it to Dickface to sell so it wasn't traceable back to James and Dickface would have plausible deniability if he was ever questioned. Well, Dickface sold my car to an average Joe who actually did have a daughter in college who needed a car. The daughter tried to register her new car at the DMV and it came up as stolen. So the cops arranged for me, the average Joe, and Dickface, whose contact info average Joe had as he paid him with a check and there was a paper trail, to meet with them at the station for a little chat. Dickface denies any involvement with James but agrees to give us the money back that average Joe paid him if he can just leave without any problems. We all agree to this. Average Joe and I say his daughter can keep the car and I'll take the money from Dickface. So eventually I got paid for my car. But this experience sucked balls and was very stressful. Since then, I have never bought and sold cars on Craigslist again. It was a chilly November evening when Megan stumbled upon an intriguing listing on Craigslist. She had recently moved to a new city and was in dire need of some furniture for her sparsely decorated apartment. The listing was simple. Furniture sale. Great deals. What caught her eye was the detailed description of a beautiful oak dining table, listed at an incredibly low price. The seller, Tom, had provided a phone number and an address on the outskirts of the city. Megan decided to call the number. A man with a deep, gravelly voice answered. He introduced himself as Tom and explained that he was moving out of state and needed to sell his belongings quickly. Megan, eager to snatch up the deal, arranged to visit that same evening. As Megan drove to the address, she noticed the neighborhoods becoming less populated and more desolate. The GPS directed her down a narrow, winding road surrounded by dense woods. Her unease grew, but she convinced herself it was just nerves. Finally, she arrived at an old, decrepit house. The windows were dark, and the front yard was overgrown with weeds. Megan parked her car and hesitated. The house looked nothing like what she had imagined. Before she could change her mind, Tom appeared on the porch. He was tall and gaunt, with unkempt hair and a scruffy beard. Despite his unsettling appearance, he greeted Megan warmly and invited her inside. The house's interior was dimly lit and cluttered with old furniture and boxes. Megan followed Tom through the maze of belongings to a back room where the dining table was located. The table was indeed beautiful, just as described. Megan felt a sense of relief wash over her. As she examined the table, Tom offered her a drink. She politely declined, eager to complete the transaction and leave. Tom's demeanor shifted slightly, and he became more insistent. "It's just a soda," he said with a forced smile. Megan firmly declined again. Sensing her discomfort, Tom changed the subject and began discussing the price. They agreed on a fair amount, and Megan handed over the cash. Tom offered to help her carry the table to her car, but Megan declined, feeling a strong urge to leave as quickly as possible. She insisted she could handle it herself and hurried to disassemble the table. While Megan worked, Tom lingered nearby, watching her intently. She could feel his eyes on her, making her increasingly uneasy. Finally, she managed to disassemble the table and carry the pieces to her car. Tom followed her outside, offering to help one last time. Megan thanked him and quickly loaded the table into her car. As she prepared to leave, Tom leaned in closer and said, "You know, not many people come out this way. It's quiet, isolated, perfect for someone who wants to disappear." His words sent a shiver down Megan's spine. She forced a smile, got into her car, and drove away as fast as she could. On her drive home, Megan couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over her. She decided to look up the address and Tom's name online. To her horror, she discovered that the house had been abandoned for years, and there were numerous reports of strange occurrences in the area. Megan realized how lucky she had been to leave unscathed. She never used Craigslist again, and the oak dining table remained a haunting reminder of her near miss with danger.